Hello class, this is part 2 for answering question 3.18. Part 1 I will show you how to use the data analysis tool pack with where you can get your mean, median, variance, standard deviation range all in a couple clicks in one single output. But in this particular video I want to show you the harder stuff, mainly the coefficient of variation, z-scores, and determining the skewness. The z-scores, basically, a z-score is, well, mathematically, it's each raw score minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. I have that written out right here. So what's it saying? It's saying each one of these minus the mean then divided by the standard deviation. And the only way really to calculate these z-scores is with some syntax formula. Now I have these values here, and just to show you how we get them, I'm going to get rid of them. So like I said, our formula is simply, and you always start your formulas with an equal sign in Excel. So equal sign, this record, and we have two mathematical operations here, so we need to put in our parentheses. So it's our first record minus, and you don't need to type anything here other than grab the cell, the mean, and we'll close our parentheses, divided by the standard deviation, which I have calculated down here. And that's it. So there's our z-score for the first record. Now technically you can just grab this little box and copy this down, but you don't want to do that just yet because Excel will change all these cell references. So what you need to do is you need to lock in or use the absolute reference for the mean and the standard deviation, because they're going to be the ones that stay the same for all these records. It's the only thing we want to vary is the actual waiting time record. So what we need to do is get back in our formula up here, and B2 we're going to leave alone because that's our raw data, but B17, that's our mean. We want to lock in the absolute reference for this, and what we're going to do is we click right in front of it and we press F4, okay? And what happens is you see these little dollar signs that appear before the letter and the number. That means you've locked that value in. And we need to do the same for our standard deviation. So again, we're going to click in front of it, press F4, and hit enter. So our result hasn't changed, but you see these little dollar signs in the formula bar here. Now we're ready to fill down. And we just do that, and there they are, done. There's all your z-scores for each waiting time record. Now, the problem's also asking you if there's any outliers, and outliers is basically what you need to look at. If there's any z-scores less than minus 3.0 or greater than 3.0, and what that's referencing here is this, the normal distribution. It's saying, are there any values over here less than minus 3.0 or over here greater than 3.0? And you see I have this chart here references the z-scores, which is basically the same as the standard deviations. And we'll get into the normal distribution later on in the course. But for now, we're looking for outliers. There are none that are less than 3.0, negative 3.0, or greater than 3.0. So there aren't any. Now the skewness really has to talk about comparing the mean and the median. And there's basically three things you want to look at: if it's left or negative skewed, if it's symmetric, or if it's right or positive skewed. And that's just basically determining if the mean is less than the median, if they're equal, or if the mean is greater than the mean. Median. In our case, we have a mean of 7.11 and a median of 6.68. So our mean is greater than our median. So that would make it just slightly right positive skewed. And that's all you need to pay attention to right now. The last thing you need to be concerned with problem 3.18 is the coefficient of variation. And again, that's just a simple formula. That's the standard deviation divided by the mean. And you can multiply it by 100 or simply just express it by a percent. So here I have that value here of 29%. Just to show you where it came from, again, it's the standard deviation divided by the mean. So again, we need a little formula, so we put in our equal sign, we click on our standard deviation, we put in our divide symbol, which is just the slash divided by the mean, and we press enter, and there's our value. Now that automatically formatted 29% because I clicked this button up here formerly. It would have come up as 0.29 and a whole bunch of numbers, but instead of putting in the multiply 100, you can just click this little percent button up here and it'll change whatever value you have in a cell to a percentage. And that's it. So you get your z-scores, your outliers, your skewness, and your coefficient of variation.